Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today I am doing an LED mask unboxing. I want to start out by saying that I know it's been a minute. I absolutely meant to have content up earlier this week, but this is my third time trying to film this video. And honestly, my last one, I was closer to posting, but it just got to be too much. I tried to make this video into too many different things and cover too many different things, and it was too stream of consciousness even for me. So in this video right now, I'm going to try to just focus on these LED masks, and then I'm going to have a separate video where I talk a little bit about, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, products I'm loving right now, how I'm getting ready for the holidays and all of that. So I'm just going to do that separately. So for now, I'm going to keep this as short, as sweet as I can so I can post it as quickly as possible. And then next week, I'm going to focus on trying to tackle my eyeshadow ranking. So after today's video, that's the next plan video. There might be another more casual get ready with me style, but my next big video is definitely going to be my eyeshadow ranking because I want to include as much B-roll as possible. And that takes a lot of time. So that's coming up hopefully next week, if not definitely before December 15th, because that's when I sort of had to pack everything up and wrap up my videos for 2024. So without further ado, I am here to talk about my experience with two of probably the most popular masks that I've seen, at least right now, the Omnilux and Current Body. So I just picked up the Current Body 2.0 during the most recent promotion, which is 20% off. I believe it's still going on, but I will pop something up on the screen right now just to be sure. And from what I've seen, that's with an influencer code. Now, a lot of times my experience with these brands is they'll have 20% off or whatever percent off through an influencer code, but you can also get that by signing up for emails, text messages, that kind of thing. Usually they match the influencer code, I guess, to cover all their bases, to sort of give the same deal to people who don't necessarily watch reviews. There is usually a third way to get that discount. I personally prefer using people's codes when I can because I figure why not? It's certainly the easiest and freest way to sort of say thank you to some of the people that have really taught me the most about these products. So anyway, with that being said, the two people that I saw talk the most about this Current Body mask is Penn Smith and Alice in the Rabbit Hole. So this just arrived a few days ago and I've only used it once. So what I'm really coming on here to talk about is just user experience, just how it feels superficially, that kind of thing, and comparing just some of the differences between this and my Omnilux mask. I'm not talking about results because that takes between 3 and 6 months with LED. So I'm certainly not anywhere close to talking about any of those things, but I can still compare the experience because I think a lot of people out there right now looking at these masks, especially during peak sale season, they might be actually comparing these two directly. So I figured I have them both, so I might as well just throw in my 2 cents. I wanted to mention too that I think somewhat recently there's another mask by Masama. I'm probably butchering that name, but it sounds something like Masama, where they have pulsing light that's supposed to help with skincare penetration. I wasn't really interested in that because I don't have a lot of skincare on my face when I'm wearing these masks. And genuinely, I feel like there are other separate devices that might aid with that. I don't need that from my LED mask. So that one never really interested me. And also the Dr. Dennis Gross. A lot of people really like that. For me, that's a shape thing, I just like these flexible ones better. So that's why I never really looked at that one either. But those are probably the next two that I've seen spoken about the most, at least on beauty YouTube and through advertisements. I wanted to jump in and quickly talk about this mask just because I've been seeing a lot of ads about this one recently, and most people that I follow aren't talking about it, and I think it's for a good reason. This, I went on the website briefly. It feels very predatory, and I did see one very questionable doctor promoting it. It's very scammy. There's nothing new or advanced about this. It's set up just like every other LED mask. The bulbs look the same. They're not more narrow than any other mask out there. The one difference is they use 4 different wavelengths. However, the wavelength that they're most heavily promoting is the 1064, but that's, very similar to the 1072 in the other masks, and I trust their science way more. Them breaking this down and acting as if all of these wavelengths have been proven to, diminish dark circles, that's a reach. That is definitely an exaggeration, to put it mildly, and I don't think you should give these people your money. That's not to say that there aren't going to be advancements, but it's not this. From what they've studied, this is not what those advancements are going to look like. And, they're also calling this mask a laser mask and, making it look super Hannibal Lecter. Like, it's going to get attention. And, people are going to think that it's fancier because they're calling it a laser mask and it's not an LED mask. That's not true. It is an LED mask, and if anything, if they're lying about these things, I wouldn't trust them with my money for basic red light therapy itself. So I definitely say skip this. Or anything else that you come across, if it looks a bit fishy, it usually is. Whether that's more expensive or less expensive, just be aware. Like, there's a reason to stick with the brands that the most reputable people are talking about, and right now at least, that's definitely the ones that Penn Smith, Alice, Charlotte Palomino, all of these people that I trust, they're not talking about masks like this for a reason. So to start things out, why was I even interested in getting a second LED mask if I have one, especially as expensive as the Omnilux? Well, long story short, I just wanted to see how my skin reacted to a different brand of LED mask. I have not been dissatisfied with my Omnilux, but I was super curious to find out if I used a different brand, if my immediate reactions would be different. On top of that, there is a little bit of newer technology out, so I wanted to see how that went as well. So it was twofold. I liked the addition of the deeper wavelength as well as the chin strap. Quite frankly, this mask having this piece to go under the chin, like, I thought that was great. And I've had this for over 2 years. So it's, it's showing some signs of wear and that kind of thing. So I just felt like it was time. It was time to try something else. I wanted to make a comparison for a while now, and nothing was really motivating me to make that big of an investment until this new mask came out. So, what made me originally go with Omnilux? Back when I first picked this up, there were less masks. I'm not going to say it was the only one, it certainly wasn't, but there were far fewer and it was a somewhat newer technology. The only person I saw speak about it at all was Angie from Hot and Flashy. She had gotten one of these sent to her in PR and she tried it in 2020 because, like a lot of us, she had a little bit of extra time and she was blown away by the results. So that made her dig into the science. And as most people know, it's common knowledge now, this red light technology originates with NASA and, studying wound healing in space and that kind of thing. So the science is compelling, to say the least. It's super interesting, and like so many things that wind up helping with skin, it started with wound healing. So doctors and dermatologists were figuring out how to fine-tune that and look at all of the different wavelengths and all of that, and ultimately turn it into something that they could use as an in-office treatment to help decrease inflammation and increase collagen production. That's the short version. So needless to say, this started as an in-office treatment with panels at a doctor's office. Like so many things, these companies wanted to make more money, and the quickest way to do that is selling directly to consumers. So they started making masks like this so you could do red light therapy at home. Angie, Hot and Flashy, went ahead and did all of the initial legwork. She dug into the specs of all of of these different masks and she compared them side by side so she would feel like whichever one she was recommending to her audience was the real deal. She wound up going with Omnilux partly because Omnilux is the main company that makes the in-office devices. So it just sort of takes some of the guesswork out. You don't have to worry about it being calibrated correctly because they were one of the first people to figure out how to do that. So, okay. I felt good about this investment because I felt like I could trust the company. On top of that, this is just very well constructed. It gets very close to the skin. The straps are super flexible and easygoing. And frankly, I love how small this little battery pack is. This stays charged for a while. I use this mask religiously, absolutely every other day. I do have to charge this maybe once a month or once every 2 months, something like that, but it's really not a big deal. Plus, they had the genius to make this detachable. So when I plug this into the wall charger, I can leave my mask put away in the drawer. I don't have to attach the entire mask to the charging station, which sounds like a small thing, but when you use a device as frequently as you're supposed to use these, that's really convenient, I have to say. I'm sure it costs them a few extra dollars to do this, but I very much appreciate it. You know, all of these masks, all of the ones that I look at seriously anyway, they all cost between $400 and $500. And I think it's important because this technology is not cheap. And I think if you ever see some of these masks for too good of a deal, like you might as well take red Christmas lights and hold them up to your face because you're going to be wasting your time. I think there's only one other company that I've seen come out with masks that look just like this, but they cost half the price, and I think Priority Skin is the name of it. I've seen them on GMA deals in the past, and I don't know, that seems like too big of a gamble. It's still $200, so I feel like that's just too much money to throw away on something that might not work. So I'm going to stick with the brands that are the most transparent about their technology and their bulbs being calibrated and checked. So not only calibrated at the time of manufacture, but having them be checked after the fact. I know both of these companies stand by their bulbs being accurate, and I think Current Body goes as far as giving you a specific QR code to check your exact mask. So regardless of what else is out there, that's why I'm really going to keep my money and my time and all of my effort really between these two companies. You know, a third one could always come out, but I just haven't seen one quite as good as these two as of right now. So, all right, so I've talked about what I liked about Omnilux and why I picked this one to start with. Now, what don't I like about it? Not a whole lot. I would say the biggest thing I didn't like about this, and it's true across the board with all of these masks that are built like this, is this inside. The thin layer of silicone that rests over the light bulbs themselves is a little bit tacky to the touch. Now, I live with 2 dogs and there is a lot of hair in my house, and sometimes it gets stuck to the inside of these masks. That's not the end of the world. You can clean them, but it is a little bit annoying. And I sort of learned the hard way that you are not supposed to use alcohol to clean silicone. I'm really not sure if that's the reason that the inside of my mask got a little bit cloudy over time. I can't know for sure. I will say the amount of time that alcohol contacted this surface was extremely brief. I had just some of those little wipes and they were really convenient for cleaning the inside, getting rid of all the dust and hair without leaving any kind of residue. And as soon as I would go over that with the alcohol wipe, I would get a damp paper towel and go over it with that afterwards. So I went out of my way to make sure that no alcohol was ever left directly on the surface of the silicone because, well, frankly, I didn't want that touching my skin because I have really dry skin, so that was my motivation. But regardless, it turns out that you are very much never supposed to put alcohol anywhere near silicone because it degrades it over time. I'm gonna try to throw a photo up so you can sort of see what I mean. I don't know that the cloudiness is directly on top of the light bulbs, but it does seem to surround them a little bit. And that could just be age. That could have nothing to do with the alcohol wipes. I mean, granted, I was using that like once every 6 months. So maybe a total of 5 times in the entire time, the 3 years that I've owned this mask, I've probably cleaned it like that 5 times. Every other time I've used just water. So I don't really know if that's to blame, but I wasn't thrilled with that. Real quick, I completely forgot to mention this, but I know in some of Penn Smith's videos, and I've heard other people talk about this. So people talk about skincare they use with their LED devices. I know, so when I first got my Omnilux mask, I got a couple of free face masks to go on my skin. They were like clear jelly type face masks, and they were able to be worn in between my face and the mask, and it was interesting. I mean, it was not comfortable. They would like slip and slide. So it was a pain. I did it when I first got it because they were free and nice skincare, whatever. But I never repurchased them because they were just too much of a pain for me to deal with. What I also thought was interesting is they make a point of saying not to wear any skincare with these masks. And to me, that makes sense because of the material. Like, I don't think you should be scrubbing the inside of these, even if you're just using water and a microfiber towel. I don't think scrubbing on like a daily basis would be a good way to maintain them. So I went with a bare face. That being said, I didn't go with a painfully dry face. So what I would do is I would hydrate my skin and then I would rinse it off. So I had clean skin, but it was hydrated skin, if that makes any kind of sense. So like dry to the touch, but not painfully dry for my own comfort. I did that for like a year or whatever. And then in some of Penn Smith's videos, and then subsequently I heard other people talk about their favorite serums to use with LED. According to her and according to some other people, it's fine to hydrate your skin with serums before the mask. However, after I started doing that, I think that might actually be the thing that's causing my mask to get cloudy. I think it's the skincare. I don't actually think it has anything to do with the alcohol cleaning pads. So I did want to mention that. That was another thing that I did with this mask that I'm not going to do with my next one. I know, she says it's safe. So many people say it's safe. It might be safe for your skin, but it might not actually be safe to do that to the mask. And it's one thing if you're buying one of these every 1 or 2 years, but if you buy one of these and you want it to last as long as humanly possible, I personally recommend going without skincare. I don't think your skin should be like so dry that it's reflective and like the light is trying to deal with like a reflective surface level of dryness. But I don't think you should put skincare on this silicone for 10 minutes every other day. I don't think these masks are meant for that. And I think Current Body makes a point of saying to use it on a dry face. So that's another thing that I'm going to do differently going forward is I'm going to make sure that nothing ever touches the inside of this mask other than my skin and a damp microfiber towel. So I absolutely didn't want to finish this video without including that information because yeah, that's another thing that I've never heard anybody talk about, and I don't know how these other people's masks are holding up over time, but I will say after 2 or 3 years, I just don't think it's a smart move. So in case that was something you were considering or looking at what skincare products pair well with this, I would say don't do it. Could be wrong, but that's my personal advice. Put the skincare on after. The other thing that I wanted to test out is if when I used a different brand, if my skin would feel less dry. So it's just my personal experience and I have very dry, sensitive skin, but after I use this, the reason I stuck to every other day instead of ever doing it every day is because my skin never looks nicer after I do a treatment. My skin looks nicer the next day. The day of my LED treatment, my skin looks drier than normal. There's just no two ways about it. It just does. And I've seen so many people rant and rave about how glowy their skin looks after LED. I was like, I need to try a different mask just to see if I notice any kind of difference. I know with my Omnilux mask, my skin looks fine the next day. The day of treatment, it looks a little more dull and a little more dry. So that doesn't mean that my skin isn't getting better over time. I wouldn't have stuck with it this long if I thought it was doing anything negative to my skin. I certainly don't. I think I do a lot for my skin to keep it up, so I don't think I would ever be able to take the variables away enough to know for sure what exactly this mask has done for me, but I know my skin continues to look better since I'm taking care of it. And I certainly think that this is part of it. This is part of why my skin is in better shape now than it was 3 years ago. The most likely thing is that I just have dry skin. So, when I'm sitting there and I have this on my face, my skin, it's covering my skin. So I'm not losing more water. The silicone is holding whatever moisture is in my skin, it's holding it in. So I don't feel like just the act of no skincare for 10 minutes is making my skin more dry. I don't think it's that simple. Conversely, maybe having a silicone layer on top of people's faces is why they think their skin is more glowy directly after using the LED mask. Maybe it's just the occlusive layer and it has nothing to do with the mask itself. I just don't know, but I was curious enough just to see if I would react differently. Having used the current body mask one time, I can say no. My skin looked identical as it did with the Omnilux. I'm going to check in. Like, I'm going to do a 3 and a 6 month follow-up with the current body mask and talk about my experience at that point and how I like it and how I think it compares then as well. But at least initially, directly after using it, no, it was not like my skin was suddenly glowy and I suddenly knew what these other people were talking about. I feel like it looked the same. No better, no worse, just the same. So that was another curiosity. And finally, my final and most compelling reason to try the new mask was the addition of the 1072 near infrared wavelength. I just saw Charlotte Palermino talk about this randomly on Instagram yesterday, so I'm going to pop a screenshot from that where she talked about a little bit about the different wavelengths. But really the person who broke that down the best was Penn Smith. I went on the website to try to get photos of where those bulbs were directly from current body. I didn't find it anywhere on the website, so, I do wish they were a little bit more clear about that, but Omnilux isn't either. Omnilux does also have a mask with 1072, but they just talk about including it. They don't talk about the number of bulbs or where they are placed. Penn Smith broke them down side by side. She compared them head to head. I actually already covered that in my most recent video where I talked about Black Friday and I talked about the fact that I was making this purchase. I included that there, but I'm going to go ahead and include it here too. So real quickly, I'm going to also link Penn's video because I think it's better to get this from the source. She's not the only person I follow for skincare, but I think she's really good at explaining things. So I'm going to link that video. I think it's better to hear it from the source, but real quick. So the two most important wavelengths to look at when buying an LED mask are the 630 nanometer red light and 830 nanometer infrared light. So all of these little light bulbs are calibrated to contain those two wavelengths. What they've discovered since this came out is another wavelength of 1072 nanometers near infrared can penetrate the skin deeper and affect change in more targeted trouble spots or thicker skin. So actually, originally, the first people to make a mask with this included was Omnilux. They came out with a mask for men, I'm pretty sure over a year ago at this point. So that was the first mask that I looked at. Of course, the second it hit the market, everybody's number one question was, okay, I'm a woman, so what can this do for me? Is this something that I should stay away from, or can I use it too? From everything I could see, Omnilux was never going to come out and say, no, women can't use this mask. They're in the business of selling masks, so they assured women that yes, they could use this mask as well, but they did also assure them that you don't need it. So if you're a woman, you don't really need this new technology. I think they said that to cover their bases because they didn't want people who had just purchased this original contour mask to be pissed that they spent all of this money on something that was frankly not as good. So I'll admit, I was in that camp. I would have been annoyed, and they sort of walked that fine line where they said, no, this won't hurt you, but you don't really need it. So whatever, there was some buzz about that and then it died down. Fast forward to this year when the current body mask came out with the new lights. I should also say, beyond this containing 1072, it also has a little bit bigger lights. So a few more light bulbs, but they're also a little bigger, and it has the chin strap. So, you know, I know they also advertise the straps being better and this thing, but I don't really care. I don't think these straps are anything special, and this thing is just okay. So what really impresses me is the chin strap and the extra wavelength. That's what I'm here for. So what Penn did was she put the men's Omnilux mask next to this one, and she talked about exactly how many of the light bulbs were 1072 NIR and where they were located. So the Omnilux men's mask had them spread out, but there was only 6. In total, there was only 6 light bulbs with that wavelength, whereas current body strategically put them around the eyes and around the mouth, which are most people's most troubled aging spots, and they include 16 bulbs. So all of that to say, as far as I'm concerned, this current body, this version of this mask is the most advanced mask that we have right now. Still, I was on the fence. If it weren't for the sale, I probably would have waited because I very much expect Omnilux is watching everything that current body is doing at the moment, and they're going to come out with something competitive, and they're probably going to try to do something to it to make it better or, you know, competitively advantageous to get some of their customers back. Because I think a lot of people like me that really like nerding out and learning about these masks are going to probably come to the same consensus that I did, which is that the current body is the best going right now. It used to be Omnilux, so I would put money on the fact that before next Thanksgiving, we're going to have some stiff competition. So, brass tacks, if it weren't for the fact that the new mask went on sale and I was having a few issues, minor, but still having some issues with my older mask, the combination of those two things, that's the simple reason why I decided to try it now instead of wait until next year. You know, who knows? I might deeply regret that. If something crazy and so much better comes out next year, I will definitely have regretted trying this one now for $400. But it's just like with a new computer or a new phone, like you would be waiting forever. If you are constantly waiting for the next greatest thing, you're never going to have your product. So I sort of decided not to agonize anymore and to just pick it up and see how I like it, and then maybe that would give me a good indication of which brand I liked better and how I felt going forward. Okay, so now let's talk about the current body mask and what my experience has been with that so far. So straight out of the box, there are definitely some differences. Well, I should talk about the box itself first. So actually, when I pulled this thing out of the box, the straps weren't attached. I had to put those on myself. But when I picked the mask up, it was cradled in this to keep the shape, and that was all well and fine. However, when I picked it up, I noticed, especially by the chin area, there was actual cardboard, like cardboard dust that had come off of the box and was like cemented to the mask. So that made me nervous because it made me realize that there was no way this mask was going to be less sticky than my Omnilux, it is in fact more sticky. So just from sitting in the box and the areas that were pressed up against the cardboard, it had like the cardboard dust that was like really stuck on there. I had to use water and a paper towel and scrub that off. It wasn't like just a light dusting that you could blow away. It was really stuck on there. Between that and just the fact that by the time I had the mask out of the box, there was already dog hair, so it just must have been dog hair circulating in the air, that it, like a magnet, sucked it onto its surface, and I've been picking dog hair off it ever since. So that's a little bit annoying. Again, not a deal breaker. My guess is over time it might become a little bit less sticky from just using it. I don't know. For whatever reason, I have never heard a single other person who reviews these products ever talk about the silicone surface of it being sticky and how that can be annoying. Truly, it might just be a me problem. Maybe I need to dust better. I don't know, but it's just not my favorite thing. That being said, it's very soft and it's comfortable. So functionality, like, I'm sure it has to be this way. I'm sure if there was a way they could do it where it was less tacky, they would. So, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the end of the world. It's not. It's a minor inconvenience, but I did want to mention it. The straps themselves, you know, they want to sell these as being unique in some way. Maybe to some people they are. For me and my user experience, it's no different. It's no different than the strap setup of this mask. For me, they're both equally as easy to use. I did kind of feel like with the current body setup, I had to sort of use my hands and hold the mask on my face to get as tight of a fit as Omnilux, but I don't know. That's probably just a me thing. I have a really, really small face. Like, I just have a really small head. That's not something I ever realized before doing face masks and sheet masks and all of that kind of thing. Everything is too big for my face. So I did not expect this to be any different. It does come with this extra strap that I guess goes around the top to sort of give the chin strap a tighter fit, which I guess that could be useful, but I felt like the chin strap was fine. I felt like it was more the forehead area that I had to hold on, but you know, neither here nor there. These straps are absolutely fine. The one downgrade would be this thing. I know that this is an upgrade from their last mask. Obviously, I don't have that mask, but this coming with this little clip and being as small as it is, like, I've heard, you know, people certainly like this better than the old one. It is absolutely a downgrade from the Omnilux battery, which is just way smaller, way lighter, and way easier to charge. When I charge the current body mask, I have to put the whole mask, like, but whatever, it's fine. And, you know, this battery being a little bit bigger, maybe I have to charge it even less often. So totally inconsequential. Another difference I wanted to talk about was the eyewear. So the mask came with these two attachments to put on the inside to block the light from your eyes. With my Omnilux, I used to use tanning goggles, and honestly, the tanning goggles didn't really do a good job. They went directly over my eyes, so they didn't block any of the light from hitting my skin. But, you know, in theory, they should have blocked the light. They didn't. I used to wear them anyway because I feel like mentally I thought they might be helping. I should start by saying I get migraines in the light. I cannot go outside without sunglasses. Quite literally, I am so light sensitive. It's ridiculous. And I get migraines. It's a really bad combination. So I didn't love that. And, you know, the tanning goggles were, I guess, better than nothing, but they didn't really help that much. These inserts, I'm not going to do it now because it takes a minute to fit them in, but they go on the inside and they are extremely effective at blocking the light from getting into your eyes. When I wore this mask yesterday with these inserts, I was amazed at how good they were at blocking the light. They made it so that I could actually have my eyes open the whole time. I could have my eyes open, I could walk around the house, I could read if I needed to. They made it so comfortable for like the most sensitive, the most light sensitive person on the planet. So I think these things are extremely effective. Absolutely love them. The only thing that I didn't love about these inserts was the simple fact that when pressed against my face, I do think they might be blocking some of the bulbs. When you put them in, like I'll insert a picture just putting these in the inside of the mask. It doesn't seem like they're blocking any of the bulbs, but if you're pressing the mask against your face and it sort of expands this, spreads it out a little bit, I'm definitely concerned that it could be blocking some of that light. And obviously, the whole reason I bought this mask was for those 1072 light bulbs strategically around the eyes. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not thrilled about that. I am going to use them because I feel like maybe the deeper wavelength is not good for the eyes. So I want to err on the side of caution, having sensitive eyes. I'm going to use them anyway, but I do wish they maybe didn't stick out so far so that they wouldn't like potentially block the light. I don't know. That's just another thing that I haven't heard a single soul talk about, but I might also contact the company and ask them directly what their thoughts are on that theory, and hopefully I'm just being over dramatic and silly and they don't actually block anything and my crow's feet are getting all of the TLC that they need. So that's really it. Those are all of sort of the more nitpicky stuff I have to say about the mask. In using it, my experience was very similar. I'll throw in some B-roll. In certain angles, it looks like the current body mask is emitting like a ton more light than the Omnilux. I sort of think that is more because of the shape of the mask that's making it look like that. I don't think the output of light is very different. It does have some more bulbs. They are a little bit bigger, so I do feel like I'm getting a more even treatment overall. I absolutely think that this was an upgrade and, you know, a really solid choice. I feel like this is absolutely the best mask on the market right now. I'll go ahead and say it. I think Current Body makes the best LED red light therapy mask on the market today. That is certainly subject to change, but as of right this second today, if somebody was asking what LED mask they should buy, I would absolutely unequivocally tell them Current Body. As nice as my Omnilux mask has been, and it's still working perfectly, I have, you know, a lot of good things to say about that. I just don't think it's the latest and greatest anymore. I think it was at one time, and I think it's been surpassed. So I don't think the other one has anything going for it. They both cost around the same. I mean, there might have been a Black Friday deal that made the Omnilux Contour slightly cheaper, but it's still almost $400. So if you're talking about like a $50 difference between the two on sale, there, you know, no contest. It's Current Body all the way. Omnilux would have to have a really big sale for me to say get that one instead. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to come out with another mask. And once that happens, this one will go on sale, just like the original Current Body mask went on sale. I very much think that's what we're going to see from Omnilux next year. But for now, December 2024, my personal conclusion is that Current Body is the best mask to invest in. So that's really it. That's all I had planned for this video. I don't think I'm forgetting anything that I meant to cover, but if you think of anything or if you have any questions at all about either of these masks, please, please, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments because this is my favorite thing. I love skincare even more than makeup, so I love learning about the newest technology and doing experiments with devices. I will also next year be trying the Medicube Booster Pro device, so I'll be doing a full review of that as well. I would say right now my two favorite devices are these LED masks, and my second would be the NIR laser. I've been using that for almost a full year now, and I think I've had good results with that. I personally never had any results from microcurrent. I did a very long-term trial with that. I bought multiple devices, and I really sort of dedicated myself to that for a while, and I think it might have helped with ATP production. but it never really helped with anything else. So I think that was more a face shape thing. I know a lot of people love microcurrent, but I tend to be of the mindset that in-office procedures are still king. So I've never had any of that done. I've never had a chemical peel. I've never had in-office microneedling, but I do think that's the best investment. And I think after that is this LED mask if you'll use it consistently. And after that is skincare. Or, I mean, I should say, if you're not using sunscreen, you could save your money on all of this, because sunscreen is really the biggest anti-aging tool that we have, point blank, hands down. So after sunscreen, in-office procedures, LED masks, and just hydration and retinol, you know, everything else is kind of gravy. So I found that out the hard way. I've done a lot of trials. I've tested a lot of things, and I've really learned the hard way what is and isn't worth it. So this is where I'm at in my journey. I hope it was helpful. I hope that, you know, I don't feel like I'm wasting my money on these devices, but I've definitely wasted money in the past. So at the very least, I hope to save other people from making those mistakes and learn from my experience, both good and bad. So that's my entire point of this channel. So anyway, I hope this was interesting and helpful. I hope you're taking care of yourself. We are definitely in the thick of holiday season and everything is a little bit tense, but I hope you're having a good weekend wherever you are. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.